Hello everyone, today we're going to be doing inheritance in our 8th Java intermediate class. Today we're going to be talking about inheritance and let's get to it. So first of all, inheritance in just its general meaning means or refers to when a child has certain traits that it inherits or gets from its parents. So, for example, you might have blue or brown eyes because your parents have blue or brown eyes and they passed them on to you. Similarly, inheritance in Java also has parents passing on traits to children. So, one example of where you could possibly use inheritance is, for example, if you were thinking about a car class. So let's say you wanted to create a car. So obviously there already exists an abstract meaning for what a car is. For example, a car has wheels, you have to be able to drive it, and it has to have an engine, all kinds of things. So what you want to do when you're building a car is take what already exists and modify it a bit to make it something that is more unique or something special, and that makes it your own car. So, for example, all cars have the same basic features like four wheels, an engine, they can drive, some might be able to play music, so on. So, all of those features, you'd have to have them already, almost as if they were a default feature of a car, and then you could expand on those features to make something more unique. So let's explore this a bit deeper. In Java, if we wanted to create a car class like this, we could use inheritance. For example, we could create a car class. Let's start by creating a car class. A car class could have two variables, like the number of wheels and the color of the car. So a perfect constructor for a car would take in the number of wheels and the color and assign those as needed. Then a car could also have the methods drive and park. So what if we wanted to actually make a specific type of car or something more specific than a car that we want to use, like another class? It would be pointless to have to copy and paste this exact same thing multiple times everywhere. So we can actually use inheritance, use with the keyword extends. So you can see here, we have class Honda extends car. What this means is that Honda is going to extend the existing class, the existing car class, and add extra stuff to the car class. For example, the Honda starts by having its own constructor. This overrides the original constructor by calling the car constructor, which is what we do when we use the keyword super, and it sets the number of wheels to 4 and sets the color to green. Then the Honda class also has extra methods like print brand and change gear. So let's actually look at this piece by piece. So the extends keyword is specifically used to create almost like a parent-child relation, like we talked about before with inheritance. So a child or extends the features from the parent, or equivalently inherits all the features from its parent. So since the car class has like these fields like wheels, the number of wheels, and the color of the car, the Toyota class will also inherit it, and the Honda class. So as you can see, this car class has the number of wheels and the color. And in the constructor for Honda, we are actually calling a super with 4 in green. However, you might notice that this doesn't even exist. This method doesn't exist in the Honda class. But the reason we can use it is because we're actually referring to the constructor in the original car class that the Honda class is based on. So that might sound a bit confusing, but essentially using super would go back to that previous car class, and notice that in the previous car class, num wheels and color are actually defined. So they're also defined for Hondas, and the constructor can do its work. So in Java, classes can only extend one other class. And by default, all classes extend object. So object is a class that has already been made, and it exists in Java. And every class that you make, by default, extends object. So let's talk about the keyword override. So a Toyota might have certain features that a base car might not have, right? So what if we wanted to change something that existed in a car to change it so it's more unique to a Toyota? We could override this method. So what this means is that we would essentially be redefining the method for the new class. So whereas if you used carObject.drive, it would say driving, the Toyota object.drive has been overridden. So what this means is that rather than calling the superclass's drive method, which would be printing out driving, it calls its own drive method, which is move out of the way. So using the keyword @override is optional. However, it is better because it also makes reading easier. So notice that we can use, in the past, we have used this to refer to the class that we are currently in. This keyword isn't necessary, but we do use it. So there actually is a difference between using this and super now, because now when we use extends, this refers to the class that we are in, whereas super refers to the methods in the parent class or in the superclass. So for example, if we used the this keyword in our current class, we could call any of the methods that are in the class. Whereas if we used super, it would refer to methods in the superclass. So for example, if we said this.drive in the previous example, then it would say move out of the way because we have overridden the drive method. However, if you called super.drive, it would print out driving because the superclass has a different drive method than this class. So here is a visual representation of essentially what is going on. So we have the object class all the way at the top. This class is basically the underlying class for any class that you create. So based on the object class, we have created the car class. The car class contains the num wheels and color as fields, and it contains the two methods drive and park. Then we extend the car method to, for example, two types of cars, like a Toyota or a Honda. So notice that when we extend, we automatically bring over all of the fields and methods from those classes. So you can see in those boxes all of the stuff that was already in the car class. Then in addition to that, we also can override methods and define new methods. So for example, we could override drive, and this would redefine drive for the Toyota class. We could also make new methods like change gear or get info. In addition, you can also, for the Honda, you can create print brand or again change gear. Alright, so that was pretty short. But now let's go on to some exercises. So for today, what we want to do is we want to make an Apple devices class. So it should have many methods for unlocking sleep, home, volume increase, and volume decrease. And each of these should have a base implementation in your Apple devices class. So now, after you do that, you should create an iPhone class, which is a subclass of the Apple devices class. And you should, in this iPhone class, implement a new facial recognition method. Basically, all you want it to do is print face recognized. Next, make an iPad class, which is also a subclass of the Apple devices class, and add a fingerprint recognition method. Essentially, again, just make it print finger recognized. Finally, override the unlock method to call the face or the finger ID method based on whether it's an iPhone or an iPad. And if you finish some of the extra functionality or some of this early, you can also try to add some new methods to your iPhone and iPad classes. So here's another exercise, which is a bit more challenging. So create a game object class. And you can have all kinds of properties like HP, durability, level, etc. So now, based on this, make any kinds of subclasses that you want to make, like a player class, which would be a game object, a food class, an item class. This one is very open, so you can essentially add anything you want. In addition, try to make certain methods and fields specific to each of those subclasses. So for example, for players, players can take damage, they can do certain actions, they can increase level, certain, so on. Meanwhile, food can be consumed, etc. This one is something that you can really get creative with, so be as creative as you want. So that's all for today. We hope you enjoyed the Intermediate Java Lesson 8. And we hope that you come to our next lesson. And we'll see you then. Goodbye.